Hey everyone, so you're welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the basic Figma tools. So let's quickly open a new design file. So when you open a new design file, the Figma app automatically opens a new design tab for you. And here you can actually see all the multiple design tabs you have opened. And if you hit on this plus icon, if you click on this plus icon rather, it will lead you where you can actually add a new design file. So you can actually create a new file. You can create a new design file, FigJam, or even slides. But we're not going to do that for this tutorial. So let's quickly rename our file name. You can rename your file name here, or you can as well rename your file name here. So let's change this to test. So now let's talk about the little drop down icon we have here. So clicking on this drop down, you will see your file settings. So here you can show version history, you can export, you can see every other things. You can duplicate the file, rename, move file, move to trash. That's if you want to delete the file. And then you can also see this indication here that this file is currently saved as draft. One thing about Figma is that whenever you create a new design file, it automatically saves it as draft. So once you click on the home here and you click on draft, you will see your text file that we recently created here. So let's go back to the text file. So now the next thing we're going to talk about is the main menu. So under the main menu, you will find like different actions that you can do. So under these actions here, you can actually search for plugins. Like I can search for the foundation color generator. This particular plugin is one plugin I use a lot. It's used to create color palettes and all. So you can also check assets, plugins and all. So, but we're not going to do that in this video. So, and every other actions here, you can actually explore them in your free time. You rarely ever edit any of the settings here, except you really have some preferences that you want to actually apply to your work environment. But one of the big thing that I want us to check out is the help and account. So under the help and account, we'll just go over to keyboard shortcuts. So under the keyboard shortcuts, you can view different shortcuts that will be very helpful for you when designing or when working. So one thing about shortcuts is that it speed up your workflow. It helps you work faster in Figma. So I will indulge you to quickly check or browse through this in your free time. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the Figma toolbar. So under this toolbar, we have different tools. We have the move tool. So this can be used to move objects around, and we have the hand tool. So let's experiment what the hand tool does. So the hand tool basically can help you move around or move objects around in your canvas without having to select them. But in the case of the move tool, you have to select it before you can move the object around. And we also have the scale. So the scale helps to proportionally scale object when you increase object. So you proportionally increases it. Wherever you click, it doesn't actually affect it, just proportionally increases it and decreases it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is frames. Let's quickly delete this. So one thing about frames are basically containers for me. I see frames as boxes which can hold different elements. So in this case, frames are basically can be used as pages, screens, depending on what you want to do. You can also bring in like a desktop frame. So they are basically containers that you can use to work. And these are particular screen size, standard screen size for mobile, tablets, desktop that you can explore. But let's try to bring in the iPhone 13 mini. So this is like a frame that can hold every other element. So you can start creating your icons, your elements, apply color and all those things, create your mobile interface with this particular screen. So at the top here, you can rename this frame to mobile view. And you will see that the name has been updated on the layer panel. So let's talk about the next thing, which is the section. So under the section, you can use the section to organize your files. You can use to group your designs, especially for presentation or for developer handoff. So you can use it to hand off your design to developers. And because the section has this unique feature where you can actually make a particular section dev ready. What do I mean by dev ready? Dev ready means that these screens are ready for dev, they are ready for the developer to start working on them. So I won't go very in-depth on this. We'll talk about this later on in this tutorial. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the other shapes. So we have other amazing plane shapes here. So we have like the rectangle, the line, arrow, ellipse, polygon, star, and you can also add images. So on the right here, you can see all the shortcuts that you can use to bring in all the shapes. So the next thing I like very well, and I like using a lot to create custom shape, is the pen tool. So the pen tool can be used to create custom shapes. You can use it to trace custom shape and add shapes to your work environment. You can just add colors to that, and you have like a custom shape, and you can manipulate this shape in whatever way you want to manipulate it. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the text. So this is used to bring in characters or words, used to write paragraphs and whatever thing that you want to do in your work environment. So you can just use it to type in whatever you want. So the next thing we're going to talk about is comments. So for the comments, this is basically another collaboration tool that comes in very handy. A client or probably a teammate might use this to criticize your work or give you feedback on your work. So after you must have selected the comments, you can just select wherever you want to actually add this comment, and you can just say, hey, you are doing an amazing job. And you can add some emoji. You can add the fire emoji, or you can also add the arts where you can mention someone, or probably you're directing this particular comment to someone. You can just tag the person, and you can also add images. So let's save this. So once you send this, then the person that the comment is intended for can always come here and hover and see whatever it is that is being said. And you can also track your comments on the right panel here. You can easily track your comments. So let's do away with that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is, I think, the measurement. These are relatively new features. So I won't talk about the annotation, but let me just quickly talk about the measurement. Let me show you how it works. So basically, let's say we have like two elements here, and instead of using the alt to actually check the distance between them, I can just indicate the distance by actually just drawing out the measurement, so that whoever I'm collaborating with, we get to know that, okay, this is the particular height that is being set to this shape and element. So that's that for that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is this multiplayer tool here. So the multiplayer tool is where you will see every other collaborator in this particular project. So probably you will see like their image, like what I have here of myself, or you actually see the icon that has the first initials of their name to indicate that that's the person that is currently viewing the file. Or wherever it is, you can actually see every other collaborator on this file, real-time collaborator actually. You can always see them here, and you can spotlight them, or you can highlight or follow them. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the prototype. So under the prototype, let me quickly create a new tab. Let me create a new frame. And let's create iPhone 13 mini. So let's say we want to prototype this. You can view the prototype. You can view the prototype by just clicking on this icon. So let's change this text before we play the prototype. So now, yep. So you can preview your work by just clicking on this play icon here. Then it just creates a new tab for you to be able to view that particular frame. So you can view the particular frame and see, get a preview of what it feels like in a real phone mockup. And another thing you can do, you can preview it side by side. Once you click on preview, it will just open the particular screen on the left here in this mockup. So, and as you edit it, it edits in real time. So let's quickly clean that. And let's delete this. So another thing we're going to talk about is, let's quickly delete this. Another thing we're going to talk about is the view. So you can actually zoom in, you can zoom out, zoom to fit, and you can actually check this out in your free time. And lastly, we're going to talk about the share. So under the share settings, you can easily copy the link to this file and share to wherever person you want to share, probably a client or your other teammates. And you can also add them manually with their mail. You can ask for their mail and add their mail here. So let's quickly try to do that with my email. So if you click on email, and then you can also select the access, whether they can view or can edit, and then you click on invite. So I'm the person that is already on this file, so there's no need to do that. So another thing is that you can actually customize the access. If you want only people invited to have access to this file, you can change the settings to that. And you can also edit their access level. Probably they can view or they can edit, and you can also add passport requirements if you would like to. Probably it's a private project you're working on. So that's that for that. So see you in the next video.